I was caught off guard when I found out you weren't staying with us. I didn't make a reservation for you, and my mind went blank with frustration. We're on a family vacation that I never even wanted to go on in the first place, and now we're at a fancy hotel. My husband pretends not to notice the tension and walks away. "We'll see you at checkout, Emily," he says as he heads into the luxurious hotel with everyone else, leaving me behind. My name is Emily, and I just turned 30 this year. I'm a stay-at-home mom living with my husband, Spencer, my mother-in-law, Kate, and our son, Sean, who is now 3. Spencer and I met on a blind date 7 years ago, and married shortly after. Our life together has been ordinary and free of major conflicts, and we're known among the neighbors as a loving couple. 2 years after we married, we had Sean. Spencer was busy with work but was always actively involved in childcare. I had no complaints about him, and life was manageable. However, things began to change after Sean was born. 6 months ago, my father-in-law passed away, and Kate was set to move in with us. The last time I saw her, other than at our wedding, was when Spencer and I visited her to announce our engagement. It had been quite some time, and my first impression of her hadn't been positive. My father-in-law, on the other hand, was always kind to me and left me with a good impression. I remember his concerns about whether I was the right choice for Spencer and his worries that I might cause him trouble. His bluntness about these concerns stung, and although Spencer worked hard to win her approval, Kate's disapproving looks were hard to ignore. We eventually managed to get her approval with some persuasion, but I still resent how openly critical she was in front of me. When Kate and her belongings finally arrived at our house, I was determined to stay positive and do my best to get along with her. I helped her unpack and was relieved to see she was kind to Sean. Spencer and I divided the tasks. He handled the heavy items while I took care of the smaller things. Unpacking went smoothly, until a minor issue arose. "This is supposed to go over here," Kate commented, referring to a fake plant I had placed to brighten up the room. Although I was annoyed by her criticism, I moved the plant to where she wanted it. She then spent some time watching TV and didn't offer any help with the unpacking. I was busy managing Sean and finishing up the packing, but couldn't ask Spencer, who was resting after handling the heavy lifting, for help. I ended up finishing the task with mixed emotions, feeling the strain of trying to keep the peace. Tried to convince myself that Kate was just struggling with the change in her living situation and pushed aside my frustration towards her. However, her criticism persisted daily. One morning, after waking up early to prepare breakfast for everyone, I attempted to take a break. But Kate's voice cut through the quiet. "If you have time to rest, you should be cleaning up the house." She never gave me a moment's peace, constantly criticizing how I did things. Meanwhile, she was rarely home during the day and never seemed to lift a finger herself. The constant strain was wearing me down, so I decided to talk to Spencer about her behavior. "She must be having a hard time adjusting," I said, hoping for some support. But despite knowing how she treated me, Spencer didn't intervene. I would lay in bed each night, my hands on my forehead, overwhelmed and unable to sleep. No matter how I felt, my 3-year-old son would cry at night from the exhaustion. I struggled to get out of bed to comfort him, and Kate, disturbed by the noise, would shake me awake, scolding me for not attending to him sooner. "How can you still be sleeping when your son is crying? It's your job to take care of him," she would yell, berating me for my fatigue and inability to keep up. I didn't want to escalate things, so I quietly got up, but the stress left me with no sleep that night. When Spencer was off work the next day, I planned to cook lunch. Kate, however, had already started preparing the meal. When she placed the food on the table, one plate was noticeably missing. "Looks like one plate is missing," Kate said. "I made it for Spencer, who works hard, and for my grandson. There's none for you. Make your own." I was stunned and hurt. It became glaringly clear that Kate's behavior was more than just criticism. It was deliberate mistreatment. I had been trying to ignore it for a while, but it was impossible to overlook any longer. I struggled to tolerate Kate's behavior, trying to convince myself that she was just being tough on me to make me a better wife. If I didn't keep thinking this way, I would have crumbled under the pressure. Unable to voice my frustrations to Kate directly, I confided in a friend after dropping Scene off at daycare. "That's definitely bullying. How are you holding up?" she asked, genuinely concerned. I detailed everything to my childhood best friend, who listened with empathy. Her concern and support overwhelmed me, and I finally broke down in tears. I had been battling my frustrations alone for too long. She reassured me that I was doing my best and that things would get better. "I'll help you. We'll figure something out," she promised. Although our conversation was brief because we both had commitments, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. My friend suggested a couple of things. One idea was to use a recording device to capture what was being said in the house. On my way to pick up Scene, I bought a cheap recorder. When I got home, I found Kate out as usual, and took the opportunity to set up the recorder discreetly. While cleaning, I noticed a piece of paper that had fallen from a drawer in Kate's room. When I picked it up and unfolded it, I discovered it was a personal loan agreement for $20,000. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. But I decided it might be useful and tucked the paper into my pocket. After a while, Kate returned, and soon Spencer came home just in time for dinner. As we sat around the table, Kate began her usual complaints. Then out of the blue she mentioned, "By the way, my friend gave me a discount coupon for a one-night stay at a 5-star spa hotel." Her mention of the coupon seemed like a hint that she wanted to go. Spencer was enthusiastic about the idea, and even Scene seemed excited. I, on the other hand, wasn't thrilled and braced myself for what I anticipated would be an unpleasant experience. "Well, since you're here and you work so hard, you might as well join us," Kate said. I was taken aback. Hearing such an offer from someone who had been so critical of me was astonishing. Part of me wondered if she meant well, though I struggled to believe her offer wasn't made with some ulterior motive. She wanted to book everything for the next day. That night, I couldn't sleep, trying to decide what to do. By morning, I was still conflicted. I sat for a long time, pondering the trip. Scene wanted to go, but since Mom wouldn't be able to watch him, and it would be difficult to take him with me alone. Needed Spencer's help. "You don't support me when your mother mistreats me. I don't want to go," I said. Spencer was at a loss for words. He knew I was right and was caught between wanting to please his mother and addressing my concerns. He pleaded with me to reconsider, so I decided to set a condition. "Fine, but first, take a look at this," I said, showing him the loan agreement I had found in Kate's room. Spencer's face went pale as he read the document, revealing Kate's $20,000 debt. He was shocked and couldn't believe his mother was in such financial trouble. "Can we help her pay this off? As her son, I can't just ignore it," he asked, knowing that I was responsible for managing our finances. "Of course," I replied, understanding the complexity of the situation. I declined Kate's offer. I had no intention of helping someone who had treated me poorly. I understood Spencer's feelings as a son, but I couldn't agree to support Kate under those circumstances. I told Spencer, "I will help you with this trip, but only if you agree to my conditions." The first condition was that Spencer must intervene whenever Kate mistreated or overly criticized me. The second was that I would establish some ground rules for Kate, write them down, and post them around the house. If Kate couldn't agree to these conditions, we would have to ask her to leave. Spencer agreed to these terms, and we decided to implement them after the trip. I asked my friend to post the rules while we were away. We would continue to act normally until the trip was over, and then we'd put our plan into action. Spencer agreed, and I decided to go on the trip with them. The next day, I informed Kate that I would be joining them. I kept reminding myself to be patient just a little longer. On the day of the trip, Spencer handled everyone's bags as we prepared to leave the house. Kate's bullying began immediately. "You don't need to carry the bags. Let Emily do it," she said. Spencer glanced at me apologetically, and I complied, believing it was better to avoid conflict. However, the bags were extremely heavy, and managing them while taking care of Scene left me exhausted. The journey involved taking an Amtrak train followed by a drive over a mountain road to the hotel. The exterior and interior of the hotel were stunningly luxurious. Scene was thrilled, exploring every corner, while Kate admired the decor and checked us in at the front desk. As I grabbed my bag and prepared to head to our room, Kate's next words took me by surprise. "Were you planning to stay with us? I only made a reservation for the three of us." I was stunned and speechless. It became clear that Kate had invited me on this trip solely to serve as a porter and never intended for me to stay. Gradually, the reality of the situation sunk in. I asked Kate, "Then where should I sleep?" Her response was dismissive. "I don't know and I don't care. Why don't you just camp out in the woods?" I was taken aback. She had invited me on this trip only to suggest that I sleep outside. I was seething with anger, and I almost shouted at her, but she and my family had already disappeared down the hallway. "I'll see you at checkout time," Kate called back over her shoulder. Left standing alone in the lobby, I felt a mix of frustration and disbelief. I had suspected there was a catch, but being forced to camp out was beyond what I had imagined. Tears welled up in my eyes as I made my way out of the hotel. Spencer sent a brief message saying, "I'm sorry." I was too hurt and angry to respond. After noon, I found a cafe for lunch and later stumbled upon an open field where I could see the sunset. Just as I settled in, my friend called, "Hey, how's the trip going?" "But you asked." I had given her a duplicate key and informed her of the situation beforehand. She was furious and offered to come pick me up, but I declined. I appreciated her offer, but I knew leaving now would mean Kate getting exactly what she wanted. Unsure of what Kate might do next, I decided to consult a lawyer. I sent him the evidence of the mistreatment, preparing to pursue a case for emotional abuse. If it turned out that Kate's actions were premeditated, she would be asked to leave after the trip. I couldn't find a legal claim, but I had solid evidence that should have supported my case. The lawyer assured me that I had grounds to proceed if I chose to. After the call, the mental and physical exhaustion hit me hard, and I collapsed onto the fresh grass. I spent the night in an open field with a stunning view and a cool breeze, feeling both the beauty and the weight of the situation. The next morning I met up with Kate and my family just in time for checkout. "Emily, did you actually sleep in the woods? I bet you didn't even clean up. You're so filthy," Kate sneered. Spencer tried to intervene, but Kate quickly shifted the topic. It was clear he had mentioned that pushing me out was excessive. Kate gushed about how nice the hotel had been, but Scene's smile was my only comfort as we headed home. Once we arrived, Kate immediately began to yell, "What's all this? Don't mess with me." Rules were posted all over the house, and it was evident she had seen them as her face flushed with anger. When Spencer showed her the IOU, her face went pale and her mouth fell open in shock. At first, she tried to deny everything, but when pressed, she confessed to squandering her husband's life insurance money and borrowing more once it ran out. Spencer and I proceeded with our plan. "I can't have someone with debt living with us," I said. "You need to leave. And since I have evidence of how you've mistreated me, I will be suing you." I played the recording for her. As she listened, her face turned ghostly white, and she begged me to let her stay. I told her she could remain if she adhered to the rules and refrained from aggressive behavior. She eagerly agreed and apologized profusely. "I'm so sorry. Please help me." I never thought I'd see her like this, I thought, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. When I thought the ordeal was finally over, my knees gave way, and I collapsed to the floor. Spencer quickly helped me into a chair and then began to confront Kate about her debts. It was clear that his respect and trust in her had shattered. Kate, who had never imagined facing such a fierce rebuke from her son, frantically apologized. Once everything was settled, she fell silent, staring blankly at the sky for the rest of the day. The atmosphere in our home changed dramatically the next morning. I woke up early as usual and started preparing breakfast. Kate, however, made a cutting remark right away. The difference was in Spencer's response. "Mom, we talked about this yesterday," he said firmly, causing Kate to fall silent and retreat to the sofa. I almost felt a pang of amusement at the sight, but I managed to stay focused on preparing breakfast. Spencer was grappling with guilt for not protecting me and struggling to stand up to his mother. Despite this, I knew he was a kind man, and there must have been reasons for his previous inaction. I couldn't bring myself to hate him for it. He tearfully apologized to me, and from then on, he supported me and kept a closer watch on Kate. Her attitude toward me improved daily. While she still made occasional comments, it lacked malice. I hoped this new dynamic would last. For the first time, I could breathe easily and maintain a healthy mindset. The debt repayment was set at $700 a month. Spencer and I worked together to manage it as Kate was too elderly to work. I took a part-time job to balance work and home life, and Kate took responsibility for taking Sean to and from daycare. She did a good job with this. Spencer took over managing the family finances, which helped improve our situation little by little. No matter how much you love your husband, dealing with a difficult mother-in-law can make you consider divorce. Although I couldn't bring myself to do that, I reflected on how much easier life could have been if I had acted sooner. Still, finding that Io was a turning point that helped me rebuild my family. I was grateful to my friend for her support and encouragement. Without her, I might have faced a mental breakdown. I deeply cherish our friendship. Looking back, I feel a sense of accomplishment for holding my family together through the tough times. Even when I was exhausted and unmotivated, I made sure to fulfill my responsibilities to ensure a decent life for everyone. Though I may never fully forgive Kate, I intend to treat her kindly as my mother-in-law. Years have passed and my son has started preschool. We are nearing the end of paying off the debt and considering a move to a new house. Kate has begun helping me more, and my relationship with Spencer has improved significantly. We're even contemplating having another child. Our family is stable now, and I'm content with our progress. I will continue to do my best for my family, always striving to support and nurture them.